Hello students, welcome to the lecture. So students, in this lecture, we are going to cover the static part of the civics as we had started this topic in the previous lectures and we had covered the President of India. Okay, so in this lecture, we are going to cover some more parts. So let's start. Okay, so today we are going to cover about the Prime Minister of India. And if you remember, in the previous lecture, I had told you the Prime Minister is the head of the government is the head of the government, and basically you can say like he is appointed by the president of India, president of India on majority on majority vote basis. Okay, so this was the criteria I had told you in the previous lecture. Okay, like the president is the head of, sorry, the prime minister is the head of the government. He is appointed by the president of India on majority vote basis. And second condition which I had told you, like if there is, if there is a condition of tie or no majority, then president could take decision as on his discretion. Okay, so basically we have covered and we had discussed that if there is no majority or any side, then in this scenario the president has the right to use his discretion power to decide who should become the prime minister of India. Got it? So at first we have the article 75. First we have the article 75 outlines the appointment and terms of office of prime minister, states that the prime minister shall be appointed by the president and shall hold office during the pleasure of the president. Okay, so first thing we had discussed already is the appointment which is made by the president of India. Second thing which we should discuss is like offers during the pleasure of president. What does it mean? Remember in the previous lecture I had told you like there is a 5 years of tenure for Prime Minister of India after his appointment. Okay, but if no confidence motion, but if no confidence motion passed against him, okay, in which the no confidence motion should be passed against the prime minister in order to remove him from his office before the completion of 5 years. I had told you in the previous lecture. Give me the answer. I am providing you 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Time's up. Answer is Lok Sabha. So if no confidence motion passed against him in Lok Sabha, then he could be removed from his office prior to the completion of time period. And the same things defines the office during the pleasure of president. How it is connected with him? Because the resolution of no confidence motion is passed and then provided to president for his approval or final consent. Okay. So the resolution of no confidence motion, if it is passed in the Lok Sabha, then this resolution will be provided to the President of India for his approval, and then only it get the final consent, and finally the Prime Minister of India along with his team, or you can say along with the government, will be resigned from their respective offices. Okay, and then elections will be organized again. Got it? So I hope now you have got the concept of Article 75. Now let's move forward. The Prime Minister terms usually coincide with that of the Lok Sabha, the lower house of parliament. I had told in the previous lecture, but they can continue to serve until a new Prime Minister is appointed. Okay. So suppose due to national emergency, under Article 352. Okay. Due to national emergency under Article 352, if elections couldn't organized, okay, then the Prime Minister who has completed his term would be remain as a Prime Minister till the new Prime Minister is appointed through the elections. Okay, just take an example. Like this is a party A, okay, and there are other parties also. Okay, this party A has completed his 5 years as a government. Okay, and this person from party A completed as a Prime Minister for 5 years. But on the same period, the national emergency is imposed due to war, armed rebellion, and external aggression. Okay. So if any of these three conditions is applied and the national emergency is declared, then even this person completed 5 years as a Prime Minister of India could remain as a Prime Minister of India for another 1 year. For another 1 year. If Election Commission of India, we will learn about Election Commission of India in upcoming lectures. Okay. If Election Commission of India certifies that elections are not, or you can say elections couldn't be organized in this scenario due to national emergency, then only this person get approval to remain as a Prime Minister of India for another 1 year, even he has completed his 5th year term. Got it? And after 1 year, again the fresh elections would be organized till the new Prime Minister is appointed from A, B and C, whichever parties. New Prime Minister is not appointed till then, this person will continue as a Prime Minister of India. For how many years? Only for 1 year. Okay. When Election Commission certifies that due to the national emergency, the fresh elections couldn't be organized. Okay. Now let's move forward. Now we have Article 74. Basically, Article 74 deals with the Council of Ministers. Now, what is the meaning of Council of Ministers? So basically, the Lok Sabha having a strength of 543 members. 543 members. Okay. And out of these 543 members, 50% more members could be participated into the Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers, and mostly these members belong to the party of Prime Ministers, or you can say of majority holding party. Okay, so mainly these members are belong to this type of party. Okay, and these council of ministers which should not exceed the 15% of the sitting capacity of Lok Sabha or the present sitting of Lok Sabha, you can say. Present sitting of Lok Sabha. Okay, these council of ministers are required to aid and advise the president, establish the principles that the president shall act on the advice of council of ministers headed by the Prime Minister of India. Got it? So you can say if this is the president of India and this is the council of ministers, okay, so the president will seek aid and advice on various matters from this council of ministers, and whichever advice is provided to the president by these council of ministers is binding over the president. The president has to act accordance with the advice provided to him. Okay, and this council of ministers headed by whom? The Prime Minister, who is also the head of the government. Got it? Now let's move forward. Now we have the Article 78. Specify the duties of the Prime Minister responsible for the communication of decisions of the Council of Ministers to the President. Prime Minister act as a link between the President and the Council of Ministers. So basically you can understand it by this flow chart. It is a President. Okay. Thereafter it is a Prime Minister. And thereafter it is a Council of Ministers. Okay. I'm just drawing a roughly drawing here so that you can get an idea. This is a Council of Ministers. Okay. Council of Ministers. So whatsoever decision has been taken by the Council of Ministers under the chairmanship of whom? Chairmanship of Prime Minister. Okay. These all decisions should be communicated to the President of India by whom? The Prime Minister of India. As per Article 78, the Prime Minister is responsible to convey the decisions which have been taken by the Council of Ministers to the President of India. Also, he will act as a bridge between the President and the Council of Ministers. Got it? So all these things have been stated in which article? Answer is Article 78. Got it? Now let's move forward. Now we have Article 83. Defines the duration of the Lok Sabha, which affects the term of the Prime Minister. Lok Sabha's normal term is 5 years, but can be dissolved earlier by the President under certain circumstances. Okay. Basically, if we talk about the Parliament, then Parliament has three main heads. First is the President of India. Second is the Lok Sabha. Third is the Rajya Sabha. Okay. Now remember, in the previous lecture, I had told you another name of these houses. What are those names? I'm giving you 10 seconds again to think about them. Time starts now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Time's up. Lok Sabha is known as lower house. Rajya Sabha is known as upper house. So what is the reason behind the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha to be called as lower house and upper house? And the irony is Lok Sabha constitutionally having more power than Rajya Sabha. Okay. Constitutionally, the Lok Sabha having the more power than the Rajya Sabha, still they are called as lower house, but Rajya Sabha called as upper house. So the sole reason is Lok Sabha could be dissolved by president under, could be dissolved by president under certain circumstances, but Rajya Sabha can't be, or you can say couldn't be. Okay, so the President of India could dissolve the Lok Sabha before the completion of 5 years under circumstances, but this is not applicable in the course of Rajya Sabha. That's why Rajya Sabha is termed as upper house and Lok Sabha is termed as lower house. And all these things is mentioned under which articles? The answer should be Article 83. Okay, now let's move forward. Now we have Article 84. Article 84 lays down the qualifications for membership of Parliament, includes the Lok Sabha, of which the Prime Minister must be a member. Okay, so basically, if we talk about the qualification of for the membership is for Lok Sabha, first is must be a citizen of India, Second is should not less than 25 years of age. Okay, and for Rajya Sabha, must be a citizen of India. Second, should not less than 30 years of age. Okay, so this is the criteria, or you can say the basic qualification for Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. First thing is common, that they must be a citizen of India in case of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Second thing, in Lok Sabha, the person should be of minimum 25 years of age. In Rajya Sabha, it is nearly about 30 years minimum. Okay, now let's move forward. Then we have Article 85, outlines the procedure for summoning, proroguing and dissolving the session of parliaments, which affects the functioning and stability of Prime Minister's government. And this could be done by whom? President of India. So the President of India is the person who can do all these things under Article 85. Now let's move forward. Now we have Article 86. It specifies the rights of the Prime Minister to address and send messages to the Parliament and its houses. This right is mentioned under which article? Article 86. Now let's move forward. Now we have 87. Pertains to the special address by the President to both houses of Parliament. Prime Minister plays a significant role in coordinating this event. So under Article 87, the President of India get a right to address both the houses and Prime Minister is subordinating him. Okay. Now Article 111 deals with the President's veto power and role of the Prime Minister in advising the President regarding the assent to bill passed by the President. So veto powers of President is mentioned under which article? Answer is Article 111. Now let's move forward. Now we have Article 112. Basically deals with the budget of India. Deals with the budget of India, which is officially in the constitution known as the annual financial statement. Okay, so remember, there is no term like budget in the Indian Constitution. Instead of budget term, we have annual financial statement. Okay, all right, now let's move forward. Now we have the fundamental rights which we should discuss. So, first is a right to equality, stands from Article 14 to Article 18. First is Article 14, states the equality before law and equal protection of law. Okay, simply means everyone is equal in front of law. Okay, thereafter we have Article 15, prohibition of discrimination on ground of religion, race, caste, sex and place of birth. Okay, so Article 15 simply state that no one would be discriminated on any of these 5 grounds. Okay, thereafter we have Article 16, basically deals with the equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. So anyone who wants to get into the government services, then he or she will get equal preference by the government. Okay, then Article 17, abolition of untouchability and the prohibition of its practice. If you remember, then I had told you during the Gupta period, the concept of untouchability and the untouchables started, but under Article 17 of Indian Constitution, it is banned. Okay, no one could do any act of untouchability with anyone. Okay, thereafter we have the Article 18, basically deals with the abolition of titles except for military and academic distinction. It simply means that you could not put titles in front of your name like Maharaja, Raja, Samrat, okay, Ghazi. All these titles are banned under Article 18. Only military and academic awards which are provided to you by the government like Padam Bhushan, okay, which is a civilian award, like Veer Chakra, only this type of awards or titles are allowed to put. Okay, thereafter then we have right to freedom, stands from Article 19 to Article 22. The first is our Article 19. Basically, it is the protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech, expressions, assembly, association and movement. So which of the rights protected under the Article 19? Regarding freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, association and movement. All right. Thereafter we have Article 20. Basically, it is the protection respect of convention for offenses. Simply means that only person could be punished on account of crime or law violation. Okay, it simply means that a person could be only punished when he committed some crime or he do violation of some law. Second, only prescribed penalties applicable. Okay, so there are two terms basically. The first is that a person could only be punished when he committed some crime. Second state that only the prescribed penalty or the prescribed punishment could be applicable. No excess, no diminishing. Okay. Thereafter we have the Article 21, protection of life and personal liberty. Thereafter we have the Article 21A, which is the right to education for children aged from 6 to 14 years. Okay. Then we have Article 22. Basically, it stands for the protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. It means person who got arrested will have a chance to defend himself. Okay. Thereafter, we have right against exploitation, stands from Article 23 to 24. Article 23, basically prohibited the traffic in human beings. It means no humans could be sold or used as a slave. Okay. Article 24 basically puts prohibition of employments of children in factories up to 14 years of age. Okay, so any children below 14 years of age could not be appointed under factories and harsh working conditions. All right, now let's move forward. Now we have right to freedom of religion. It stands from Article 25 to 28. First is Article 25, freedom of conscience and profession, practice and propagation of religion. Simply means that you are free to worship your God as you want to. Okay, so this is provided under Article 25. Then we have Article 26 is basically for the freedom to manage religious affairs. Okay, thereafter we have Article 27. Basically it is a freedom of payment of taxes for promoting a particular religion. It means state could not charge any tax from any particular religion. Okay, it means that the state could not charge any tax from any particular religion. Simply means like if a person is following A religion, person B, this person following B religion. So state has no power to charge any tax from this person to follow this religion. Okay, but the fees applicable, like if you are going for Hajj, you are going for Amarnath, and you are going for any other religious tour in which you are using state resources, so you are required to pay some for fees, not for the religion but for the services which you are using. Thereafter we have the Article 28. It is the freedom from attending religious instructions or worship in certain educational institution. Simply means that religious educational institutions could be established. Okay, like Gurukul, Madrasa, convent schools. So these are the religious institutions that could be established under Article 28. Thereafter we have the cultural and the educational rights. It stands from Article 29 to 30. First is our Article 29. It is the protection of interest of minorities. Okay, and it simply means that they could preserve their culture and their language. Okay, so this right has been provided under Article 29. For Article 30, it's a right of minorities to establish and administration their educational institution in which they could promote their culture and language and also promoted it. Okay, thereafter we have the main right, which is the right to constitutional remedies, under Article 32. It is the right to move the Supreme Court for the enforcement of fundamental rights. It means that if a person seems that his fundamental right is violated, then he could reach the court for the enforcement of his right. Article 32 stands for Supreme Court and Article 226 stands for High Court. Okay, so students, in this lecture we had finished the static part of the civics. In the next lecture we will start the static part of economics. Till then, make sure you revise all the facts and figures which I have provided you in this lecture. Okay, with these notes, let's end this session and thank you.